Peace, family, and we are now live. Let me move this mic even closer. We are
Mhm.
now live, family. Oh, y'all in for a treat tonight. Y'all see who I got with me? As I usually do before I bring on my guest, we're gonna get to a quick commercial. Make sure you get comfortable. Hit the. Let me make sure. Yeah. It says I'm live. Well, I don't see nobody in the. Family, let me know if. Okay, I see y'all now. Okay. All right. Yeah. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family we're live. There's some important spiritual stuff happening tonight on the channel. Tell them to tune
Yes.
in. And I'll be right back after this commercial break, family. All right. All right. See you in 1 minute. Right. All right. Shout out to Cambada. You know what I was supposed to show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all in the middle of the live. Wait till more people come. KT got a big sale going on. I'm supposed to show y'all that. But without, I'm gonna get to that in a second. Without further ado, listen, family. I want to welcome back to the show, Priestess, Auset, Ra, Amen.
All
Welcome back.
right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
She got the hood on today. That dark energy is in full
Yes.
effect.
Yes. Feeling it. Feeling it.
In full effect. What's going on, Priestess?
Oh, just, I'm a little bit tired. I've been doing readings all day. So,
Uh,
and then, this portal just opened up, the 1111 portal.
uh.
Yeah. And so, tonight the moon's in Sagittarius, the ninth house of spiritual philosophy, Jupiter. This is all about expansion, you know? Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. What me and you had a conversation on the phone, and we were talking about you kept mentioning this concept of spiritual kung fu masters, and
Right,
the conversation was so good. I said, I think I'm gonna call the show spiritual kung fu masters. So to
right.
start out with, what do you mean when you use the term and you say spiritual kung fu masters?
As a spiritual kung fu master, that means you have elevated your inner avatar,
Uh-huh.
you know? And
Yes.
so let me just give you an example. Let's just say, you're working with the air type element
Hmm.
and you have mastered that. Okay. If you are on your job and your boss come up behind you, to nag you or something, and you lift up your arms and you're like, yo, just back up. You don't even touch them, but they're supposed to feel the wind when you hold up your hand.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Got you. Hmm.
Yeah. And so what it is, it's all about discipline because right now the matrix has collapsed.
Hmm.
And they really don't want people tapping into their spiritual energy because of course this is the age of Aquarius, this is the I know, and this is also a return of the crone mother Saturn,
Right.
you know so they are doing everything to distract people from tapping into and elevating, to their fullest potential spiritually.
Indeed, and it's interesting you say that. I think discipline is something that I also think that that's something that is of extreme importance. Now, the whole idea, the whole energy of discipline and structure and focus, all that's tied into Saturn, right? That's
Yes,
Saturn
yes,
deals all with that, right?
yeah.
So
And
20
see,
2024, that's a big Saturn year, then, huh?
yeah, yeah, because Next year it'll be an 8.
Right.
And the 8 is under the dominion of Saturn.
Right.
So
Right.
it's going to be some heavy energy,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And I hear a lot of people talk about being blocked spiritually. And one of the things they can use is selenite, you know. I'm just going to get a little, this is how I do it at night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll put one in the front. You feel me?
Uh-huh.
This for the sacral chakra.
Let me
And
stress.
I'll put one in the back.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's for the root chakra.
Uh-huh.
You feel me? Yeah. And then, you know, I will have one, you know, like underneath in the middle of my chest for my heart chakra.
Uh-huh.
And this is how you clear energy,
Uh.
you know, by using selenite, because selenite is a powerful stone to, you know, to clear energy blocks in the body. And you can use this with your tuning fork, you know what I'm saying? Or even your singing bowl.
Uh.
Okay. And see, this is a thing, you know, when you are on the spiritual path, it's not just talking about it, it's be about it.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people that come to the spiritual path to be entertained, you know?
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, and join up with a community, and you know, it's just all types of drama. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, what I'm seeing, and I don't know if you've been scrolling across YouTube, because sometimes I'll just scroll across to see, you know, the astrologers, what they got to say.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a whole big thing on aliens.
Mm.
And, you know, at the end of the day, so what? You know, I even saw one brother, I won't mention any of their names, and he's like, the alien invasion is coming. All right, so what are we going to do about that? Right? I
Right.
mean, and I think, you know, sometimes when there's a certain level of spirituality where you can veer off into crazy town, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it's almost like, you know, they get into Holy Ghost,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know? And, you know, one of the things is people got to look at the now.
Mm-hmm.
Another person that was talking about the Sumerians,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and taking the Sumerian tablets and decoding them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what does that have to do with your spirituality now?
Mm-hmm.
And see, this is a thing. We are being distracted in looking back. Like even the archaeologists, like they keep going somewhere and digging up these caves and, you know, these pyramids and finding these bones that are like 2 million years old. What does that have to do with right now?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, know your history, that you know, you're descendants of the ancient Babylonians, Phoenician, Cushites, Fattites, and all of that. Okay, now you understand. Now you have to be elevating your inner spiritual kung fu master, your avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it is. And this takes a lot of practice, you know, and you have to have a routine. See,
Indeed.
a lot of people, you know, they call themselves spiritualists and they don't have a routine, you know, but you have to have a routine. It's like the Shaolin masters, they practice, they meditate, you know, and we're supposed to be just like that, but spiritual.
I knew you was gonna go there. You heard of it? I was watching this dude on YouTube, the Shaolin Master. His name is Shi Heng Yi.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just watching him before this show right here, and I'm like,
Is
in
this
my
the one that's in Germany?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The
yeah,
one that he got a temple. He's a master of a temple in Germany. Yeah,
yeah,
he was saying some stuff, and I was like, what he was talking about. I was like, yeah, this is pretty much the direction and the energy I was feeling from what you when you said spiritual kung fu master. So my
yeah,
spirit led me straight to him, and it's funny that you brought up the whole Shaolin. That's why I brought his name up. But yeah, yeah,
yeah.
y'all could go check him out. And yeah, routine is important. Talk to me about how do you, priestess, when since we're talking about discipline, we're talking about Saturn, we're talking about routine.
Hmm.
Your spirit wants to do something, or you know you're supposed to do something, but you may be too tired to do it. You may be lazy. You may want to procrastinate. You want to put it off till tomorrow. How do you get that voice to be quiet, conquer that voice, conquer that doubt, conquer whatever it is that's telling you you ain't got to do it today, and do it? Because a lot of people, they want to do stuff, but they fall to that lower vibration.
Well, they got to find the energy because, you're always going to have the lower vibration,
Mm-hmm.
but it's up to you. You know what I'm saying? To rise above that. This is where the discipline comes in because you got to look at it that this is your time slot to elevate yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like having a plant. You water it. If you don't water it, it dies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you set aside, like every Saturday, I have a routine. I have my mala beads and I do my Saturn mantra 108 times. Then I have a rite of Saturn where I tap in with Saturn. And then I meditate. And that takes me probably about an hour, hour and a half. And you good for the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So every Saturday, it's like a routine for me. And because we're in the age of Aquarius, whose ancient ruler is Saturn, we have to be working with Saturn because Saturn is one of our oldest teacher planets.
Mm-hmm.
And see, they don't want you working with Saturn because they already know it's all about karma. You know what I'm saying? They can't mess with Saturn. And this is where we have now got to have that discipline because for so long we have been so undisciplined. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we done came up out of that spell, out of that age of Pisces. And now what it is devoting the time to making, to cultivating your inner avatar and not get distracted with all of this stuff because it's so much fear mongering going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, yeah.
What would you say, Priestess, to somebody who, in terms of discipline and structure, for a lot of people, and this is very weird, and I've realized this the older I got, for a lot of people, Priestess, it's easier for them to help somebody else grow, to assist somebody else, to do something for somebody else than it is for themselves. So you'll see
Yeah.
people assisting or building up somebody else, but when it's time for them to build them up, they won't do it. They refuse to do it. So I mean, were they just are some people just born like that, and that's why what makes the world balanced? But what would you just say to somebody who that may be a problem with them? They can help somebody else, but they just can't seem to help themselves.
Well, they got to see. Here's the thing, you're helping somebody else, but you have to put yourself first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because here's my thing, you're helping somebody, but you're not building up yourself spiritually. So, what are you really doing for them? How much power do you have behind that building up?
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Because if it's just talking and giving advice, you know what I'm saying? But you don't have no power in your hands. If you go to touch somebody, you can literally heal them.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? This is the energy. You have to do you first. And this is where it comes in with the discipline. You know,
mhm, mhm.
we have to have discipline on this path
Yeah.
because this is how you grow spiritually, you know. And I wanted to show you one more thing, even with, the selenite. It's like getting a stocking cap and, putting this in your third eye.
Mm,
So this unblocks the
mhm.
energy of the third eye. And you can have another one and put it, in the pineal gland area,
Right.
you
Right.
know? So that's, yeah. But you have to be disciplined and you have to do yourself first.
Mhm,
Yeah, it's like akin to being on an airplane and the airplane's going down. And
mhm.
they tell you, don't worry about putting the mask on your kids. Put the mask on your face first. Because if you fall out, then what's going to happen to them?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I heard you say about you were talking about the love and light community, and you were saying they had I think you said unreal expectations about spirituality. And I want to ask you because a lot of people will hear people on the internet talking about love and light all the time, and because they don't see that reflected in them, they'll give up on the whole idea of growing, elevating their consciousness because they don't see themselves fitting into that model. So people will see you and they will see themselves reflected in you. So I want to ask you, what is a more realistic um, representation, or how would you describe the spiritual journey besides one of peace, love, and light? How would you describe it so people out there won't give up on this shit?
Right. Well, everything is a process, and we have to realize we're not perfect. In fact, the term human being means imperfect, and you're going to falter along the way. You're going to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you just get up and keep it moving. And we have to understand that there is a polarity. There has to be a polarity. It can't be all love and light, because I heard somebody said something crazy the other day that, um, they could be meditating with love and light and somebody run down on them, and they just accept it. Nah, like the Mexicans would say, nah, Holmes, no, it ain't that. What? Get out of here. Because we got to remember, take the goddess, Hathor, for instance. She's the goddess of love and beauty and all of that. But when she gets pissed off, she transforms into Sekhmet.
Mm,
And we do have that side to us. We have to realize that. And it's not about neutralizing that side and just having one other side take over, but it's keeping in balance, because there might be a time when you need that side.
hmm
You can have a demon roll up on you. You know what I'm saying? You can't come at a demon with love and light. You know what I'm saying?
definitely.
And so this is what it is. But people, and I tell people all the time, this is a path that it's a lifelong path, because some people, like I've been on the path for about 40 something odd years, and they'll hear that and they're like, oh, well, I got to catch up. No, you go at your own pace.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because this is like a flower unfolding. This is a lifelong path if you're truly committed to it.
Facts, definitely. And
You know what I'm saying?
somebody in the chat, it, C Diggs, are literally, this is literally my next question was going to be about the warrior spirit. I think
Yeah.
what a lot of people don't see, Priestess, is that people like me and you, I would have never gotten to the position I'm in if I didn't have a warrior spirit. So a lot of times we talk about the spirit of peace, the spirit of love, unconditional love, but that warrior spirit is necessary to rise above the matrix and to rise above the illusion. And people telling me, Rich, you can't do it, you're an idiot. Why are you doing it? It takes a warrior to go against the grain. That love just don't do that. Love does that, but you got to have that warrior spirit in you. So talk about developing that warrior spirit when you're up against the odds.
Yeah, well, see, your warrior spirit is cultivated, and you can look in your natal chart, your Mars, because Mars is the planet of war,
Yeah, yeah.
the planet of aggression. And whatever is in that house, that's the energy you want to cultivate, because ultimately what it is about disarming you spiritually. Because remember, they did that under the age of Pisces. Love your enemy, embrace your enemy. So now they coming with that love and light bullshit. I mean, not that love and light ain't bullshit, you know what I'm saying? But it's all love and light. No, it's not like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Because when you look at the earth and you look at an earthquake, that's anger.
mhm,
You look at lightning and thunder, that's rage.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, to cultivate that inner warrior spirit, first you need to find out what type of warrior energy you working with: fire, water, earth, air, and you devote time to cultivating that. You can, let's just say you have a fire, let's just say you have let me give you an example. Let's just say you're a number one, and it's ruled by the sun, and that's Leo in the fifth house. So Leo, we dealing with boss, we dealing with segment. So you would want to do like a sun mantra. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You would want to do a sun mantra, and you can do it like either in a sun hour or on a sun day,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And with this particular energy, you want to light a candle. And as you light a candle, you want to be looking in the flames as you're doing your mantra. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And doing your breath work,
Mm-hmm.
and even invoking your inner warrior, great mother Sekhmet. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I invoke your divine power within me, your divine protection, your divine guidance, your divine wisdom, you know? And it takes time because it's like anything else, you know, that you have to take time to cultivate these energies.
Indeed. When you said something interesting, you said when you referred to earthquake, you used the word anger.
Hmm.
Just looking at this world in an as above, so below kind
Yeah.
of way. Um, so would you think when we're angry, because they talk about the danger of anger, do you think our body experience an earthquake internally, just like how we experience an earthquake? Like, do you think that's what happened? Like, I give just to give you another example, like if we're happy, does our internal body experience sunshine? You know how when you're happy, they always
Yeah.
say the sun comes out. So are
Yeah.
these emotions? What happens on the inside of our body when we experience these emotions
Well,
in terms of weather?
these emotions are inside your body.
Yeah.
That's why you want to, you want to put your anger in place, because anger, if it's repeated anger on a regular, it
Mm,
tends to weaken the body. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Because it's so much energy being pulled to be angry,
yeah.
you know? Because anger is something that is reserved for, whatever moment, whether it's a fight or flight, or to, bust somebody down, you know, but that's not an energy you want to be channeling all the time,
Hmm.
you know. Now, going about in a peaceful state, and meditating, and, a state of gratitude, well, that does a lot for our internal organs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
What weather pattern would you describe as gratitude? If you describe anger as an earthquake, like what's the closest weather representation of gratitude? You think?
Like probably a gentle wind
Mm,
caressing your face,
mm.
you
Interesting.
know? Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Have you ever attempted to? We hear all the time in certain cultures they need it to rain, so they do certain dances and things to make it rain. Have you
Yeah,
ever
we have the
attempted?
power to do that.
Yeah, have you ever attempted to do that? Do certain rituals to make certain weather patterns happen?
Yeah, and I've done that. I remember one time, I had a real racist neighbor,
Mm,
and I went out into the backyard and invoked some stuff. It was
mm.
thundering and lightning, and an actual bolt of lightning went through her garage,
Whew.
missed her by this much.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, when it says life and death is in the power of the tongue, that
Mm,
is real.
yeah.
We have the ability, if we knew how powerful we are,
Mhm,
when we know how to channel the energy correctly, you know, it would literally amaze us, because each of us are born with our own avatar power.
mhm,
Are you a, firebender, waterbender, or whatever? We're
mhm,
born with our own power, and we can cultivate that.
mhm,
Just like they went out and they danced and make it rain, you can do the same thing. But it has to be a frequency that you're aligned with,
mhm, mhm,
you know?
mhm.
Yeah.
So just like somebody finds their astrological sign, some everybody should find the element that they're most aligned with as well. You would say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
everyone has an element, like Sagittarius, their elemental energy is fire and water. Same thing, I'm a Cancer. Elemental energy is fire and water.
no, definitely. You know, I'm a Virgo, and I think that's Earth. I think,
Yeah,
but
that's a Mercurian sign. That's ruled by, the mind. But Virgo is also the planet's healers because they are the holistic healers, like the Dr. Sebi type healer, or
yeah,
they can heal the mind. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? And it's ruled by Mercury. This is all about communication,
indeed.
and it rules over money too,
Mm,
rules over money, rules over crystals,
hmm.
that type of energy.
I've always my most effective magic has always involves fire. That's why I
Yeah.
got the fire. So I think that's the element I want to get from tap into more. I'm always been close with the fire element when it comes to the magic. You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing. We are also people of the sun.
Yeah.
We're descendants of the ancient Kemites. The Sumerians, Babylonians, that was a Saturnian energy. Kemites, it's a sun energy. So we are people of the sun,
Indeed.
so we can work with that fire magic. Yeah.
How you talk about Saturn and you mentioned the sun. Do you work a lot with the moon? Do you do work a lot with the moon magic?
No, I don't do too much work with the moon.
Any reason or
Yeah. No, no reason. It's just that, I'm just particularly biased, if you will, to fire magic.
uh-huh.
You know, I like fire magic, water magic, you know what I'm saying? Ear type magic, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. But the moon herself is very powerful.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Especially when you know the phases of the moon, the waxing and the waning. The waning is when the energy is decreasing. The
Hmm.
waxing is when, the energy is increasing,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Do you think as the divine feminine energy resurrects on this planet and becomes more powerful, do you think that will also cause the moon to play a more important role on this planet? Because right now it's about the sun, the sun, the sun. Do you think the sun will take a backdrop and the moon will get more attention as the divine feminine gets more attention?
No, because back in the day, they were called the seven celestial sisters:
Hmm.
Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Venus,
Hmm.
Jupiter, sun and moon.
Hmm.
And these were all, considered feminine planets.
Hmm.
But, patriarchy has assigned, like the sun as a masculine energy, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think it will take a back seat, I
Hmm.
think, working with all the planets.
Hmm.
Because when you look in your chart, you have your sun, your moon, your Mars, your Mercury, your Venus, your Jupiter,
Hmm.
these are all energies that you came back here to express,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Do you think as part in it, as far as attaining spiritual mastery, do you think the soul incarnates like right now you have the incarnation of a black woman? Do you think in the past life you might have been a white man, Chinese woman, Asian man? Do you think it's like that, or do you think the soul is incarnates as one gender? Like I was always a dude, you was always a female. How does that work?
No, we've incarnated in many genders,
Mm-hmm,
you know?
mm-hmm.
I just always put in, however many times I come back, let me come back as a black woman, But we can, incarnate as a male, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, I don't know about the other ethnicities,
Hmm.
Yeah,
No,
but
definitely.
definitely.
Definitely. You ever did like a past life regression? You ever did
Yeah,
that?
I've done past life regressions.
What do you think about those? Do you think they're worth it?
I used to do those as readings and
Yeah.
I stopped. Yeah. And
Why?
the reason I stopped, because here's my thing. Who cares what you were in a past life? You know what I'm saying?
It's the
I've
stress.
read I've read for brothers where, he used to be an emperor and now you working at Popeyes. You working at Walmart with your little thing on as a greeter.
Yeah,
I
you
got a
crazy.
question. What's that gonna do for you? That you were emperor in a past life, and
Yeah,
now you're your little Walmart smock greeting people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, you crazy.
Yeah, because you can't get a do-over.
Oh
Now I can understand tapping in to just,
man.
for shits and giggles, just
Yeah,
to see. But really, what is it you're going to do with that? Because that life is over.
right.
And
Hmm.
now what you focus on this life is, maximizing all that you can in this life.
Right.
Yeah, because we're literally like a puzzle,
Hmm.
and it's putting all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Hmm.
We come in here with a full ass army,
Hmm.
and once you have decoded your spiritual science
Hmm.
and you know who your army is, then this is what you're working with, but you got to spend time to cultivate,
Hmm.
because spirituality, it's like, let me see, it's like going from kindergarten to postgraduate.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Wow. Kindergarten to postgraduate.
yeah.
Damn. Why do you think some people's inner voice is louder than others? Like I'm sure everybody wishes that inner voice was a little louder that could direct them. It seems as though some people their voice is loud and it gives them directions, and some people's just like they don't hear
because
nothing.
the people who don't hear, they have not cultivated it. We all have that power,
Uh-huh.
you know but what it is to be cultivated, because there's nothing really outside of self. Matter of fact, we're past altars, we're past all of this. This is all about the mental magic, but this is all about going within. And when you go within, you you have to, hear that silence. And
Right.
it takes time for, for you to go within, to learn to listen.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Because it requires you being still.
Right.
It may take some time. You may need to do, some spiritual bath. You may need to do some mantra. You may need, to work with like some lapis lazuli that deals with the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, everyone is born with psychic gifts.
Hmm.
Now, everyone's not going to be like a diviner, or, a reader, but everyone has psychic gifts. And all they have to do is to go within and cultivate that.
Hmm.
But it requires work.
Hmm.
Yeah. And some people, you got some lucky people that, they ain't even got to do all of that. And their gifts are already turned on, because what it is, it's like switching on a light.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Those people who got gifts that turn on like that, do you think it's because they spent so much time in their previous life working on it and the other person didn't? That's why it's turned on like that? Or
Could
yeah,
possibly be, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Or they're just born that way.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Mm. Do you in terms of spiritual mastery and in terms of studying, you talked about the planets. Do you think it's important for us to figure out like maybe we hear about you mentioned the aliens. We hear talk about the Sirius star constellation, and we hear about Andromeda. We hear about so many different parts of the
Mhm.
galaxy. Do you think it's important for us to figure out exactly what part of the galaxy we come from?
At this point, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't even care,
Hmm.
because I am here now.
Hmm.
There was a famous philosopher, Ram Dass. Be here now. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because okay, you figure out that you are from, let's say, Sirius B, and that's where we're allegedly from.
Hmm.
Okay, now what? Can you go to Sirius B right now?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You're still in this frequency,
Hmm.
you know? And this is where you have to be working and cultivating.
Hmm.
because we can't go back to Sirius B right now,
Mm-hmm.
so, here's the thing. What I see, it's another form of distraction that has infiltrated the spiritual community.
Mm-hmm.
You got the love and light, to disarm you, like and don't get me wrong, there is love and light because we're moving to 5D, and 5D is all about love and compassion. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying, and all of that. But at the same time, now you have these people that want to keep us, in, looking at the Sumerians, looking at the Phoenicians, you know what I'm saying, looking at the Kemites. That time has passed. We know there are ancestors. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But you are here at this time, to elevate as high as you can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
What do you think? Moving forward, um, do you think religion is going to completely disappear once? Like, what does the era of the divine feminine looks like? We seen patriarchy and we seen these religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, with the male gods and the male deities. What does the era of divine feminine look like? How are we praying in that era?
Yeah, there will be religion will be completely dismantled,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and your our religion is the religion of self,
Mm-hmm.
the religion of, the divine mother,
Mm-hmm.
and so, you know what it is about yourself and tuning in, developing a relationship with nature, with Mother Earth,
Mm-hmm.
having, a respect for the earth,
Mm-hmm.
having a respect for the elders. you
Mm-hmm.
know it's really going to be all about going within, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
and your connection to source.
indeed. Very important. Connection to source. Very important.
Yeah. Yeah. This is how, when you're connected to source, you have all of the clears, the clear audience, the clear sentient, all of that,
Mm,
but you got to go within and you got to clear out a lot of the stuff that can block you, like past traumas, holding on to grudges,
mm,
holding on to regret, holding on to anger. You know what I'm saying? You have to release and forgive.
mm,
And it's like having a garage with a whole bunch of junk. You got to go in there and clean that garage.
mm,
You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And once you have done all of that and healed, now you start to, you plant the seeds and you water it, and now your spiritual tree can grow that bears fruit in due season. But you have to do work before.
mm.
Because, see, what a lot of people try to do is they come on the spiritual path and they're still traumatized from something that happened that they have not healed from. That will create blocks on your spiritual path, you know?
Yeah, the trauma definitely will. I guess in terms of trauma, that word has become such a popular word on the internet these days. Trauma and mental illness. What do you think? Everybody has their way of going about solving certain problems. What do you think is the best way to solve this trauma that the whole world seems to be talking about now? Right now, this time they keep talking about this trauma they experienced when they was young. What do you suggest as the best method for dealing with that?
Well, one of the things is to face the trauma head on, because sometimes we run from it, we sweep it under the rug. And
Uh-huh.
then at certain times it comes out. Is to face it head on and to
Mhm.
deal with it. Okay, this happened to me when I was a child. I can't go back and change that. So
Right.
now I must deal with that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
however you choose to deal with that, whether you want to, do a journal, you want to light a candle, you want to meditate, you know what I'm saying? Or even exercise, you know what I'm saying? However you deal with it, but you can release it
Mm-hmm.
because, you didn't have control over that.
Right.
And so holding on to that, it's like Erica Badu. She had a song, Bag Lady. Where you going with all them bags? You gonna miss your bus
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you got all these baggages weighing you down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I've had trauma as a child. I was sexually molested. I mean, they're dead now, but but you know what? I had to heal from that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, okay, that happened to me when I was a child, and
Right.
I carried that, around, you know, and it was like at some point I got to let this go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it created a block, you know and once I let it go, and then for me, I had to come for some ass, you know what I'm saying, bust some hoes down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Do you
divine retribution.
do you practice? I was talking to a gentleman the other day on my show, and he was talking about the importance of forgiveness. Do you practice forgiveness a lot to let go of
Oh,
trauma?
yeah. 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 Forgiveness is good, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do forgive.
You said that. You said that like I forgive, but I don't forget. You
No,
had that look on your
no,
face.
no, but when you forgive, no, but when you forgive, you've got to like let it go completely.
Right. Right.
Because if you forgive and you don't forget, you haven't fully let it
Right.
go. You
Mhm.
know, I'll forgive depending on what it is. Because if it don't require you catching these hands, then
Oh.
yeah.
Oh man, let's get to a couple of questions from the people in the chat because I've seen people ask that one thing they ask about you. What's your website, Priestess? I see some
It's
people.
Priestess Auset Amen.com.
Let me type this. Hold up. Uh, Priestess
Yep.
Auset Amen.com.
Yep. .com.
Hope I spelled it right. All right. For anybody, and you got like, if they want to get a reading or anything, they could just go to that website.
They can go to that website and they can look and see the reading that they would like. I offer, you know, the reading that I would recommend that folks get is a spiritual consultation,
Uh-huh.
because I go through their natal chart and I show them what's their spiritual gifts, what
Mm,
are their inner warriors, you know what I'm saying?
mm.
What spiritual path that, they should be on,
Indeed.
things like that. But they would need to email me also, because I have some links that I provide, some free links to decode your natal chart, find like the celestial guides, angels of the day that was assigned to you, you know what I'm saying, your numerology and all of that, because all of that plays a part into your spiritual path.
You study numerology a lot?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting into that more and more. That's some powerful stuff. This dude,
Yeah, and this is a nice book, Numbers in You.
Lloyd Strayhorn. Yeah, I had him
Yeah,
on
Lloyd
here.
Strayhorn. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is my little go-to book. Even though I don't agree with the numbers like nine being masculine, it's ruled by Mars. But okay, it's all right. I'm not gonna fight about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it is what it is. But yeah, this is an excellent book for starting out, learning numerology.
No, definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Because numerology is a divine exact science.
Hmm.
You're born on a particular day. Like I'm born on the 16th of July. The number one is the seven. You know what I'm saying? The number six, let me see what I forgot what number six is. Hold up. Let me get numbers. Oh, Venus. How could I forget that? Venus.
Hmm.
And then the number, 6 + 1 = 7. This is dealing with the moon type energy.
Mm.
Yeah. So if I wanted to break it down by, let's see, like deities, okay, it would be segment for the sun, because the sun is the number one, and the six, which is Venus, that's Hathor, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and the seven, the moon. This could be like Nepenthes.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So you assign a lot of the gods to the numbers.
Yeah, yeah, and the elemental energy. Yeah. And even the angels is assigned to that. You know what I'm saying? Because the archangel for Venus would be like Uriel. The archangel for the number 1 would be like Michael, and Gabriel, you know, for the number 7.
What would be? I'm curious because I'm a number 8. What would be the
Oh,
arch?
this is all about Saturn. So the angel for Saturn is Cassiel. That
Cassiel.
helps you to elevate to a higher level spiritually.
Mm.
Yeah. And the
Mm.
number 8 is dealing with Saturn, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Brother named Rod Cool. He keeps telling me that I'm ruled by Saturn. So you know
Yeah.
it's funny. I realize when you're talking about the discipline and structure, I have to be a certain way or else it seems like I get spanked. So I gotta have discipline, I gotta have structure, and I have to live according to my code and my integrity code. Otherwise, things, it gets all out of order. So I'm always got stability because that works for me. So I think that Saturn, I gotta stay on course with that. Because if
Yeah.
I don't, I see what
And,
happens.
yeah, and see, now that we're in the age of Aquarius, the ancient ruler is Saturn. Not that bullshit Uranus that you know that they assigned, because how were the ancient Babylonians, the ancient Sumerians, the Kemites, you know, the Hindus, they assigned Saturn was assigned to the sign of Aquarius. And now you come with your little infant self, you want to assign it Uranus, something that y'all discovered in 1800. No, I'm not riding with that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Let me get to a couple of questions from the people. Somebody wants to know, do you charge us selenite? How do you say that? I'm not saying it right. How do you say that? Selenite. Is that how you say it?
Selenite.
Selenite, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you charge
Well,
it?
selenite, you know, can be put with another piece of selenite to
Okay.
charge it. You know, you can also charge it underneath the moonlight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not a stone that you can put in water because it will dissolve if it's left in there long enough, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But selenite, what I normally do, I have a whole bunch of selenite. So I will put, you know, the selenite wand on top of some other wand and let them charge.
Dope, dope. Somebody wants to know, do you use gematria for your readings?
No, I don't.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question. Is recognizing each other in spirit important?
Yeah, yeah. Because some of us come here with people from past lives. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And some of us recognize each other through spirit. Yeah.
Yo, you ever ran across somebody in your life and realized that you had beef with them in the past life through your spiritual work? Like, I've been beefing with this MFer for 2 lifetimes. Has that ever
Yeah.
happened to you?
Listen, and I don't know. I tell this story all the time. I remember when I used to work in a hospital in Boston in Mass General, you know, and I had this real asshole boss, you
Yeah.
know, and she was a white lady at that.
Mhm.
And I was getting ready to come for that ass. And Spirit was like, nah, because that was your sister in a past life. Y'all was in a coven. You know how mad I was? You
Ooh.
know, so I just did a ritual where she got transferred to another department, you know, because she was really gonna catch these hands, get run down by a semi or something.
Why would it be set up like that where your sister with a person in one life, then the next person you just y'all don't get along at all?
Right. You know, it may have been that we probably signed a contract in past life not to harm each other if we ran across each other in the next life.
Mhm.
You know, yeah.
Do you think the children that we have are people or somebody that we knew in a past life as well? Like
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you have
Oh, most
sons and
definitely. And sometimes they can be returning ancestors.
mhm, mhm,
Hmm.
indeed. You know, they say because a lot of people in the spiritual community say that the children, when they're coming into this realm, they tell you what to name it. I think that's dope. Like when you deciding what's the name of your child, they're saying that the spirit is telling you what it wants, what its energy signature, what it wants to be called. That's
Yeah, I
that's
know
dope.
for my son Amun Ra, I was told to name him Amun Ra.
Hmm.
And it was so funny, his father was at the hospital and he was like, please name him after me. And I'm like, yo, you got a regular name. Your name is Marlon. Spirit said his name is Amun Ra. I have to name him Amun Ra,
Yeah,
So yeah. And
spirit
that
tell
was
you.
very heavy. That came directly from source.
Wow, you had to listen, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn. What is so? What do you think about where everything is falling and we're figuring out that we've been lied to and a lot of things are backwards. He was talking about the nine being masculine versus being feminine. What's your thoughts on the idea of once me and my mate have a child, usually the child gets the last name of the father instead of the last name of the mother? Do you think it should be the other way around? The child get the last name of the mother?
No, y'all can give the child both of your names because Amin Ra was my firstborn son. I wasn't going to let his father be great all by himself. So he got my last name and the father's last name,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right, let's get to another question. Let's see. Um, let's just see. Okay, somebody wants to know what are a few practices to master the element of fire?
Well, first of all, you know, it's cleaning the candle, you know, and if you want to bring something to you, you go in a clockwise motion. If you want to remove something, you go in a counterclockwise motion and you hold the candle in your hand and you speak your intent in the candle, whether you want to do a mantra in it, a prayer, or you want to speak whatever. And when you light the candle, it's sitting there and tuning into the flame, watching the flame dance. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
And you tune in long enough, you can, you know, you might hear some stuff,
Mm.
because fire beings are real. There are people that live on the sun.
Hmm.
You could never hug one because they're beings of pure fire, you know? Yeah. And fire is a spirit.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you sit there, and you look at the flame. You know what I'm saying? Looking at the way the flame is dancing, and it's like you're communicating with that flame.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Real shit.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting question. Crystal I wants to know what is the best angel to connect to during labor.
What's the best angel?
Yes, to connect to during labor.
Labor. Well, I would say Archangel Michael, because Michael is the protector angel. I mean, they're all protectors in a sense, but Michael, is a guardian,
Hmm.
you know? Yeah.
Mm.
And also Gabriel, because Gabriel deals with that moon type energy, whereas Michael is a sun type energy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. How to find our assigned angels and assigned demons?
There's a website called Itaroshi that deals with how to find your angels, and there's a book that's written that gives the demons by your zodiac sign.
Hmm.
you know yeah. And I
Indeed.
think you can go online and you can even Google that too, demon by zodiac sign.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm having a brain block right now. I forgot the ones. I know they say, like people that are like Leo is Lucifer, but I don't look at Lucifer as a demon per se. You know, she to me is like a renegade angel.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't Lucifer tied to the planet Venus? Isn't that
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next question. How to work with Mars in a ear? I don't know if you understand that question.
How to work with Mars in an ear.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
me.
I don't know.
Yeah, me and you gotta explain that one a little better.
Hmm.
I don't.
Are you an ear sign trying to work with Mars?
Yeah, maybe I thought maybe she meant that maybe.
Mm-hmm. She have to expound on that.
All right. If the calendars have been manipulated, don't y'all gotta spell right. Don't our true elemental identity stand the risk of being offset as listen, y'all, you understand this question?
Being offset as well. Yeah, that's true. But here's the thing: you got a birth certificate that says the day that you were born. The day that you were born has certain energies that's lined up. You know what I'm saying? So whether the calendar has been manipulated or not, you come in under a certain frequency. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you can work with.
You ever added up, the numerologists, they add up your name, they add up the birth date. Do you think it's of any importance to add up like your social security number? Like, is there a reason why we have certain social numbers, or do you think that's just like some government shit?
It's some government stuff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But if you wanted to add it up, to see what your personal number is, but with that, I don't put much stock into that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Now
mm,
you need to know your name, the number frequency,
yeah.
and add up your month, day, and year to see your life path, your destiny number, your soul urge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Definitely. BB Life wants to know, how can we learn to astral travel and lucid dream?
That takes practice, to astral travel. I would, make sure the room that you're in, first of all, it's in a certain manner. It's nice and clean, you
Mm,
know.
mhm,
And what I do is I buy a little cheap ass Chromebook, and you can have some binaural beats,
mhm,
astral travel binaural beats,
mhm,
and you light up some incense, and you will astral travel. As for lucid dreaming, you can talk to yourself before you go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? And you want to make sure that you're clear. Also, what you can sleep with in the bed is like a clear quartz,
mhm,
which is like a master crystal,
mhm.
you know? Yeah, but for lucid dreaming, it's just making sure everything on you is clear, like you've taken, like a spiritual bath,
Yeah.
you have done, your whether you're singing bowl or you're tuning fork. These are all part of spiritual modalities that I want people to understand, that if you're on this path, you have to get into stuff like this. You know what
Mhm,
I'm saying?
mhm,
Because when you go over your thing with a tuning fork, you're actually clearing away anything that's out of alignment,
mhm,
so things can be back in alignment.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And even going across, your third eye with it. So you can lucid dream.
Mm, definitely. The next question is how to not reincarnate.
I I don't know if you have a choice on that. I was given my next assignment. You know what I'm saying? That when I transition up off of here, I'll be going into East Africa. But
Mm.
they said don't talk about the country because there's high level witches and wizard that can pinpoint when you coming in and make your mother have a miscarriage and you'll have to start all over again. Now that's some wild shit,
Super
you
wild.
know. But I know, I've heard some people that are on their last incarnation.
Mm,
I don't know if you have a say in not coming back here. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Yeah, because we sign contracts,
mhm.
you know? And yeah, I don't know if you have a say in that, you know? Yeah.
If you was to say go through that, your mother in East Africa and she had a miscarriage, what do you think the soul does? Does the soul keep trying with that individual, or do you think the soul goes to another avatar to try to come through?
Probably go to another avatar to come through,
Mm,
you know?
mm,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
this spirit stuff gets real heavy and interesting. We would
Yeah,
be.
and I think too, sometimes you can look in your natal chart and see like if you have a lot of Piscean energy, because Pisces is the 12th sign, you
Mhm,
know, because you got to get to Aries, you know, to Taurus, to Gemini, to go all the way to Pisces. You know, Pisces have all the signs in it. So that's the last, you know, thing. And if you got a lot of Piscean energy, you just might be on your last incarnation,
mhm,
you know? Yeah.
mm. Next question. This gentleman wants to know: is the concept of time of any importance in the spiritual world?
No, because time is a man made thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Mm.
The
Yeah,
spiritual work, the spiritual world is based off of frequency. You know what I'm saying? Being able to tune into frequency. Yeah.
yeah.
What
Time.
time is it? Because I got to get up off of here at 10 o'clock. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's 10:01 right now. Let's take. You can do
Mhm.
one more question.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Last question. Interesting question. Somebody wants to know: don't you have to come through here? Come through a certain bloodline? Do you have to come through a certain bloodline?
Yeah, to a degree, but it's not always necessary.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
It's not always necessary.
mm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I know you got to get out of here. Before
Yes.
you do, leave your information again, your contact information, website, and if you got anything coming up that the people should know about.
I'm going to no, not really. It's just, you know, my readings, and I'm going to be doing my Ossetian Temple Ministry, a mystery school for women and a few men if they want to join. You know, that's going to be coming in the future, you know.
Dope.
And you know, yeah, that's pretty much it.
And what's the website one more time? Said what's the name?
It's Priestess Auset Ra Amen.com. Yeah, what I want folks to, you know, before I leave, what I want folks to understand, you know, we are here at this time. We are blessed to be in the age of Aquarius. This is the I know. You got to know. And this is where you come back to take your to reclaim your full spiritual power and not be distracted, because there is a ton of distraction, so we don't tap into our full power. Because, you know, I mean, we have been under psyops, living in a fake ass reality, you know, and you can't even believe all of what you see on the news because a lot of it is manufactured. We have been living in a fake ass reality.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And everything is done to keep us from reclaiming our spiritual greatness. You know what I'm saying? And once we reclaim our spiritual avatar, you know, we can, you know, shift the energy.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. And
Yeah.
with that being said, I want to thank you once again for let me give it for coming on the show. Always a
Thank you for
pleasure
having me.
having you on here. I love the videos that you post on your channel. I was just watching your channel earlier. What's your YouTube channel? Tell the people your YouTube channel.
It's
It's
Priestess Aset
same,
Ra Amen.
same. Yeah, okay, so yeah,
Yes,
make
yes.
sure y'all check out her YouTube channel. Priestess Auset Ra, man. Gosh, she got some great videos up there. Thank you so much. And I see you next time, Priestess. Thank you.
All right. Thank
All right.
you.
Peace, peace.